Welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique, the podcast series where we chat about shit with inspirational people from all walks of life. Today, we are joined by the wonderful and inspiring Poppy Williams. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Hello, Poppy. Welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on.
No, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't we start with perhaps you introducing yourself and just telling us a little bit about how you came to have your stoma?
Of course. So my name is Poppy Williams. I live in Cardiff in Wales. I'm 26. And 7 years ago, in 2016, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And I think at the time I was really naive and I didn't really know how that disease would impact my life. And over the course of 5 years, I had moments where I was dealing with the disease really well. And at one point I was in remission. And then I'd have ups and downs where it would just kind of control my life and I'd be put on a course of really strong steroids. And that was like a real roller coaster over the course of 5 years. And then in December 2021, I had the worst flare up of my life and I got admitted to hospital. And I spent about a month in hospital. And I think for me, I think I knew that I was going to have a stoma bag as soon as I was admitted, but it was it felt like it was so dragged out, and I think they were trying everything, and it was just the scariest time because you go to hospital to get better, and I wasn't getting any better, and I was just getting worse, and I could hear conversations because when you're in hospital, they only have those really flimsy curtains, and I think the doctors would close them, and then they'd have conversations where they were admitting, "Oh, we're not actually sure what's going on." And I heard a conversation that said, "We're going to have to transfer her over to the other hospital so she can be close to surgeons." And I think then I just thought, I know I'm going to have a stoma. And I used to go to the bathroom in the hospital and hold my makeup bag up to my belly to try and like figure out what it was going to be like. But yeah, so I got transferred over to a different hospital, and then they basically said that there was no time left. There was no time to try any new medications, and that tomorrow morning I was going to be rushed for emergency surgery to have a stoma.
Wow. And so, you said that you when you went in, you knew that you were going to really have to have a stoma. How much did you know about stoma surgery or what that would mean for your life before it actually happened?
So I had a really negative almost view of stomas. I think that I thought it was something that old people have. I hadn't seen anyone my age on social media that had one, or I hadn't heard of anyone my age that had one. And I remember a time when I was just about like 3 years into having ulcerative colitis that I actually had a dream that I had a stoma bag, and I was devastated. And I came down to my mum and I was like, "I've had a horrible dream that I'm going to have a stoma bag," just because my ulcerative colitis was a bit up in the air. And I remember having a conversation. She was like, "We can't rule it out, but we're just hoping that it's not going to happen to you." And yeah, I feel like I had a really negative view of it. I didn't want one. To me, that would be the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. And then I think about halfway through my time in hospital, so about 2 weeks in, I feel like even though I still didn't want one, I was so ill and I was in so much pain, and my quality of life was so bad that I feel like a like a switch flipped in my brain, and it was like, actually, would that be the worst thing? I just didn't want to be ill anymore. So yeah, so I had a really negative relationship with, or viewpoint of, having to have a stoma. And I think, yeah, now I feel like even now, I'd say I've got a love-hate relationship, more love, because I'm so grateful for the new lease of life it's given me. But it's still a roller coaster. I mean, I still get down days where I think, "Oh, do you know what? I'd love a day without it today." But no, there's definitely more highs now. My relationship or viewpoint of them has completely shifted. But before, I was absolutely terrified. It would be the worst thing that I thought could have happened to me.
And how, when you do have those down days, as you say, not every day is a great day. How do you pull yourself out of that? How do you kind of remind yourself that it's okay?
I think that when they come, I describe them to other people as waves of sadness. And I think I go so long with, I'm so happy, I'm so healthy, I'm getting on with life, I don't have to worry about taking any medication. And then this wave comes, and it's more so I remember my whole journey throughout hospital and just all those really dark memories and like the intrusive thoughts that come. And almost like I grieve my old body sometimes, and I just think, oh God, I'd love to look in the mirror and not see the bag. And then I think I remind myself of how far I've come and the new opportunities that my bag has given me. And I think I do give myself those times to be down. I think sometimes a good cry relieves everything and then reminds me of how far I've come. And I think my mum always says, don't be too hard on yourself, because even though you're so well now, you can't forget all the things that you've been through. I mean, it was a huge life-changing operation. I just think that I give myself that time to have my down days. And then once I've figured it out, I do a bit of journaling, and I just think, okay, I'm back on track now. I just needed almost a time of reflection, and it gives myself the time to think, you like, look at what you've been through, look how far you've come. And then, I mean, I have an amazing support system. My family are amazing. My boyfriend's amazing. My best friends are amazing. And I don't think I'd be where I am now without all of them. But also, yeah, just giving myself the opportunity to cry and to feel a bit sad sometimes, because it is difficult to live with a stoma sometimes. But I remember all the good things that comes with it as well.
What would you say have been kind of the hardest things to adjust, but also what have been kind of the best, the new opportunities and things?
So I think at first, when I was lying in hospital, it's obviously that the how you look, the physical aspect of it. And I mean, I dropped down to 5 stone. I had to like learn how to walk again with the nurses. I was so poorly, and I just couldn't ever imagine being active again. And I was before a really active person. I'd run, I'd go to the gym, constantly going on walks, swimming, and things like that. And I just thought I'd never be able to do that again. And it was just giving myself time. When I first came out of hospital, I feel like my mum wrapped me up in bubble wrap, and she wasn't letting me do anything. I wasn't even allowed to like lift something really tiny. But I think actually having that and giving my body that time to heal made me even stronger in the long run. I think something that I found really hard as well. I'm a really social person, and going out for meals and tasting new foods, and that's what I love to do. And when you first have the surgery, it's very much like, oh, you need to avoid these foods, this food, this food. You can't have this. You have to have something that's soft. And I was reading through old messages that I was messaging someone that did have a stoma. And I was saying, how do you go out for a meal now? Because you're not allowed to eat this, you're not allowed to eat this. And she was just, it was so lovely to hear that she said, no, I can eat all those things now. I went through a time where I couldn't have nuts, I couldn't have sweet corn, I couldn't have mushrooms. She said, I eat them all now. It's just in moderation and learning what your stoma can, I don't know, process. And I feel like now I've started my new Instagram page that I've become that person for other people. So I'm receiving the messages like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to be able to eat my favorite foods again. I'm thinking, yes, you can, just give yourself time. And I just feel like, wow, I've like full circled. I was that person that didn't have any hope, and now I'm able to give those people hope back.
Love that. I have looked at your social media and your page, and you've got some amazing kind of tips and tricks for people. What are your top 3 tips for somebody with a stoma, or like who's just had the surgery, or even now that you're a few years in? What's like the top things you would say to somebody?
I'd say to always make sure you've got your emergency supplies with you. That's like one of my first top tips I shared. And it's actually hilarious. When I filmed that video that was like, what's in my bag? What do I take out with me? I took everything out, left the house without anything. So it's like, what have I done? Type of moment. So yeah, and I just think I always share about it's like a weird situation, because I'd never view myself as having a disability, but a stoma is classed as a disability, and there are things that come with having a disability that makes living with a stoma easier. For example, like my radar key and my no waiting card, that just in situations where you are in an emergency and you're out in public, to use those disabled bathrooms. And I think one of my top tips that I share a lot is that you shouldn't feel ashamed that you're using those facilities, because you are entitled to use them. And just because I think a lot of the time a disability is visible, and I think it's come to having a stoma now where I'm like, wow, you truly don't know what someone could be going through, because I walk down the street and no one would know that I had a disability. And I just think, yeah, just I always share just like about invisible illnesses and just being kind all the time.
What's in your emergency pack?
So I always take. I used to only have one stoma bag in there, and I've learned the hard way. Always take more than one, because you'll be in a situation where your stoma is active and stuff goes everywhere. So definitely more than one stoma bag. My radar key, wipes, a little bin bag, and then I use the adhesive spray. And it's actually really annoying because I feel like in fashion now, the smaller the bag, the better, as in a handbag. And I can't fit everything in. And so I tried to do quite a bit of research to find another way to remove my bag. And I actually found like mini wipes that take your bag off. So they are really good as well. And I just always take like a perfume in my emergency kit, because I just think, I mean, it is poo. It smells. And just in social situations, sometimes when you're using shared bathrooms, it can just be, I sometimes feel a bit conscious of it. So I just like having a spritz in my emergency pack whenever I need it.
Fair enough. And in terms of that radar key, and the card, like, how would somebody go about getting one of those, or getting them?
So, I have quite a funny relationship with my stoma nurses, and I feel almost like I've been a little let down by them, and I get dismissed a lot. And when I first came out of hospital, these were all things that I'd been told I need to get, and when I asked for them, it was kind of brushed off like, oh yeah, you'll get one of those, but we don't know when. And I was thinking, I'm starting to go out into society now with this new thing attached to me, and if I'm in emergency, I won't have that opportunity. And the supplier where I get my bags from, Coloplast Charter, I spoke to a lovely lady on the phone, and she was like, oh my goodness, you don't have those things, you need those things. And she just sent them straight away. So I just think it's really hit and miss with my stoma nurses. And I think sometimes if I do have an issue, obviously it's addressed, but I think I have to shout enough to be heard sometimes, because I think I understand they're under so much pressure. But yeah, so I think my message is to keep asking until you get one, because you need one. It's very important. And I just think don't ever be dismissed to say, no, you don't need one. Make sure you just get one.
Absolutely. That is really great advice. And something you said about, don't be embarrassed to use the disabled toilets. Have you ever received any backlash or somebody being rude to you? Because, I mean, from our, we do a lot of work with the community, and people have kind of given horror stories of abuse that they get from using disabled bathrooms. And I think it's exactly what you said, because of invisible disabilities. And so has that happened to you, and how have you dealt with that?
Yeah, so I think it happens all the time. And I think that I almost feel guilty, because I remember before my stoma, I would be queuing up in the really long queue, and then I'd see someone jump in the disabled toilet, and I would never say anything, but I remember thinking, God, should they be in there? And I think I can see those looks now that people give me when I go in to use them. And I wouldn't use it all the time. I wouldn't just use a disabled toilet. Oh, I only need a wee, I'm going to jump in the disabled because the toilet's too long. I would only use it in an emergency, because I feel like that's what I want to use it for. And one memory or one experience that really sticks out, I'd been in the public toilets, and I had a cream pair of trousers on. And as I was going to the toilet, I realised my bag was leaking. It was just like seconds away from being all over my cream trousers. And I was thinking, gosh, I really need to sort this out. And I think, I mean, I could have sorted it out in the public shared toilets, but it's just so much easier having access to a sink. So I thought, I'll go to the disabled toilet, I'll have my own space, I can take my time. And as I was opening the door, because sometimes you don't need your key, sometimes it is just open, I let myself in, and a woman almost stopped me and she said, "You do realise you have to be disabled to use that toilet?" And I said, no, I'm fully aware. And she said, "You should really have a key." And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, my bag is literally about to leak over my new cream trousers. And there I was, stood there, having to rummage in my bag to find my radar key to justify why I could use the toilet. And I just think, and then her face, she just literally stepped back and was white. And I was like, "Just to let you know, my stoma bag's about to leak. So like, I need to go." And I think she was, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize." And I just think it's like, yeah, it's moments like that. And then because there was other people around as well, and I was thinking, if I was someone who didn't want to share about my stoma bag, that would have been a really awkward, embarrassing situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you do a lot of traveling. How's that been internationally? Is there do they, first of all, do those keys work in international toilets, and how has kind of traveling been for you?
So do you know what? I don't actually know if they do, because I've never had an experience when I'm traveling on holiday where I've had to, thank goodness, where my bag has leaked, or I've been in a hotel room where I'm on my own and I can sort it out. I'd say going through the airport the first time was really daunting, because I don't know how it's going to flag up. And obviously you can't really watch many videos about that because it's such like a security time where it wouldn't be necessary for someone to have their phone out and filming. But I'd say it's so much easier in the UK because everyone speaks English, and most people would know what, if you said, "Oh, I've got a stoma bag," they would know what it is. I have had occasional times where they're like, what is that?" So I've had to explain. But I recently went away, and when I was in the UK, it got flagged up. And normally I just say, "Oh, I've got a stoma bag," and they just like pat me down and they're like, "Right, thank you, off you go." But she was very much like, "Oh, well, can I see it? Otherwise I'll have to take you for a private examining." And I mean, I'm in the situation where like I literally just undid my trousers and just showed her the top of my stoma bag. But there would be people that wouldn't want to do that with hundreds of other people walking around security. So yeah, I guess there is that option to go into a private room. But then coming home, and where people don't speak as much English, or they wouldn't know a translation for stoma bag, it is really tricky. And you can get like it's like a medical card that it's like a long sheet of paper that folds up, and it has all different languages explaining what a stoma bag is, what medication you'll need, your supplies and things like that. But there'll be a chance where you'll go to a country that won't have the translation on it, and it's just a very much case of showing it. And I remember one time I showed a lady in, I can't remember what country it was, but it wasn't a country that had the translation. And I was showing it and she was like, "Why you have that? Why you have that? Why is that on you?" And I remember thinking, "Oh God, I don't know what to say." So I just kept saying the word poo. And I was just like, "Poo, poo." And then I was thinking, what is going on? But again, I'm in the situation where I feel really confident to do that. And I think it would be an awful experience for someone who wasn't as confident about their stoma bag, because when you're in a hospital, it's busy, there's loads of people around. So I would say if you were going to somewhere that didn't have the medical card with the translation on it, it might be just best to translate a letter yourself, just so that if you're in the situation, you could hand it over so there was an explanation on there.
Fair enough, fair enough. And have you always been really confident with your stoma?
I think it took me I had my operation in December, and then I mean, I was completely lost. I was like a shell of my former self. I was so embarrassed, didn't really tell anyone. Obviously, my family knew, my boyfriend knew, and a couple of my best friends knew. And I thought I was just going to leave it as that. And I would wear things that were really oversized, nothing tight that would show it. And it was like a really, I don't know, like fluky, like meant to be moment where I'd been speaking to a girl online who had a stoma that I'd found. And I went on holiday with my mum and I was wearing full swimsuits, hiding it. And it just so happened that she was also on holiday, and we were in the same bar of a beach club on the same day at the same time. And she said, I think you should do your, like, I don't know what I think we were calling it like a reveal picture, but I think you should do a reveal picture. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure, like in a bikini tomorrow. And she was like, no, you're going to do it tomorrow and post it. What have you got to lose? And I was thinking, I don't really know what I had to lose. Like, I was basically told that unless I had this operation, I was going to die. So yeah, what have I got to lose? And I think the moment I posted it, it was just like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And the amount of love and just like everyone saying how brave and how inspirational I was, I didn't feel those things, but I was like, wow, this could be like a new chapter. And then I think I say now, I feel like I don't really believe in everything happens for a reason, because there are some awful things that happen in the world, and that can't be something that I would want to say. But I do believe that I've had a stoma bag for a reason. I feel like it's given me it's given me a second chance at life. B, it's given me like a new journey, and I feel like it's a new chapter that's opening. And now I'm 2 years on. I feel like I'm really ready to just go forward with that new chapter that it's leading me onto.
I love that. And something that you said, which is, isn't it crazy that the thing I thought that would ruin my life is the thing that's opening up a new chapter? And perhaps you can I thought that was a beautiful thing to say. Perhaps what is this new chapter? What is changing in your life that is as a result of having this surgery and this confidence?
So I think it's like my new outlook on life. And I think like every day is a blessing, and you never know what is around the corner. I think I never thought that this would happen to me. And after my surgery, I always thought, why is this happening to me? And I think I've switched that now, and I feel like this has happened for a reason. Um, I'm currently a primary school teacher, and I love my job. I love the children. It's such a rewarding job. But I think I knew that I didn't always want to be a primary school teacher. And I don't know if I would have ever had the confidence to stop it, because it's such a secure job, stop it and move on, if I hadn't had my stoma. And I've recently handed in my notice. And come September, I feel like I'll be on a new journey. I'm not 100% sure what the journey will be yet, but I feel like my passion has changed. I had a real passion for teaching and changing the lives of future generations, and I still have that passion. But I feel like now I want to really focus on stoma awareness and helping people and changing people's lives who have gone through it, because I don't think that everyone does have the confidence that I have found to share my stoma bag and do things in their lives with having a stoma bag. So yeah, that's how I think it's changed my life. I've got a new outlook, and I just think let's grab it now. If I don't do it now, I won't ever do it. So I'm hoping come September I'll be on a new journey.
That's amazing. But interestingly, so when you said you were in hospital at the time in December for a month, which I think in some ways, with school holidays may have kind of tied in with that. But even in terms of the recovery, letting work know, or coming back to work and talking to the children, how did that all happen?
So yeah, so I went off unwell, and I thought, oh, I'll be back in a week. And it was around Christmas time, and I'd been admitted to hospital, and I just thought, oh, they're going to give me really strong course of steroids. And I was texting one of the girls that I worked with saying, don't worry, I'll be at the staff Christmas do. And I mean, like, how naive was I? That was like week one. And then I was texting my teaching partner all the time, like, so sorry, I'm not able to do any planning. I don't think I'll be back till after Christmas. And then obviously had this huge surgery, and it was clear that would I go back before the end of the year? I don't know. So yeah, I was off for, I think in total I was off for like 6-7 months. I did manage to go back to my class at the end of the year. But yeah, I was off for such a long time. And I think obviously I told my head teacher what had happened, and he was great. He was very understanding. He said he'd actually worked with people who had stoma bags before, just to really take my time. But it was more so all the other people that I worked with. And when I went back to work, I hadn't actually done my reveal picture yet, so I wasn't really open about it. And it's just the way that the school I work in is designed. The staff toilets are like a disabled toilet that both men and women use. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, like it's going to be so obvious, or people are going to think like I'm constantly having a poo because it might smell. And I can't really, it feels like a blur looking back. And obviously I managed to get through it. And then I think I had that moment on holiday where I saw that girl and she said, do you know what, you just need to get out in the open. And then I was just walking down the corridor and having conversations in work about having a stoma bag. And I don't think people understood what it was. And they were like, so do you have a clip? Do you have something? Like, are you wearing it today? And I was thinking, do you mean, am I wearing it today? Of course I'm wearing it today. I don't get a day off. But yeah, no, and that's like a real eye-opener for them and for me, like how people aren't educated on it at all. And then I think because some of the members of staff weren't aware of what it was and I was explaining, I thought, well, the children I'm teaching won't have any idea of what that is. And there were children in my class with disabilities, and we were having conversations about iconic people. And people would the children were talking about their disabilities. And I just kind of said, look, you're so brave for talking about yours, so I'm going to tell you about mine. And these children were going to high school the next year. And I feel like so many people do have stoma bags where you don't realize there could be a child in that high school that had a stoma bag, and wow, my class could go up to high school knowing exactly what it was, knowing that it's nothing to be embarrassed about, knowing what that person was going through. And I just think, wow, I was able to share that with them, and they were so I just mature and open about it. At first, some of the girls were like, oh, I don't understand. I just got a spare stoma bag out the cupboard, and we just kind of passed it round. And they were like, whoa, this is attached to you now. And I was like, yeah, that's what my poo goes into. And they were just like, wow. And loads of the parents on pickup were just like, wow, we're just blown away with how like open, but also how much you've taught my child and how like open they are to now like hidden disabilities and things like that. So I feel like, yeah, it was like a turning point, and I was educating not only other staff members, but also my class as well.
That's a very special lesson, a life lesson. I think, for all people to kind of endure and experience. Do you think there was a difference between how the kids reacted versus perhaps like your colleagues or grown-ups?
I think the children asked, well, children were asking like silly questions, but not silly as in like inappropriate, but just things that it's a big thing to wrap your head around, that your internal organ is now on the outside of your body. And I think some of the children were a bit squeamish, and they were like, oh, we don't want to see it. But actually, some of the girls in my class they had TikTok, and they'd seen other people online who have one. And they were like, oh, we've seen it. It's this thing that sticks out your belly. So they were like that. And I think, I don't know if in a way the children were just more accepting. It was just like, that was surface value. That's what it is now. And they were like, oh, fair enough. And then we like moved on. Whereas I don't know if like it was different with the staff. I feel like I can't really remember. I feel like it was just more of this is what it is. And they both asked questions. And I think both, they were very accepting. Yeah, it was just like a turning point for me as well, because it was like this is it now. I'm telling people there's no going back.
Really, really powerful and special. I wanted to ask though, because there's kind of two other things that you have talked about quite a lot. One about chronic fatigue, and secondly, about flare-ups, and how sometimes when you do have a flare-up, you blame yourself for them. And that's something that, we do sometimes see. And I wanted to understand, well, firstly about the chronic fatigue and how that, is it still affecting you, and how you deal with that. And then when you do have a flare-up, let's just say it was somebody else, somebody in your community, or somebody that's, might share that same thought that I've eaten something, I did this, that actually, like, would you say to that person, yes, this is your fault, or would you say something different?
So I think with the chronic fatigue, that is something that I constantly struggle with, and it's something that really, I think it winds me up when other people are like, God, I'm so tired, or people often say, God, you're always tired. And I think, yeah, like there's so much going on now. And I generally can't help it. And I don't think it helps with my stoma bag that I wake up once, twice, maybe 3 times in the middle of the night to empty my stoma bag. So it's like broken sleep. So that's not helping. But it's just, it is worse sometimes, say if my output is a bit more active and I've got more output, and if I'm drinking more, my output's more liquidy. Is that a word? Not sure. Liquidy.
I think it's a word.
We'll take it. But yeah, so I think the fatigue goes up and down. I think like getting a good night's sleep, it sometimes doesn't work, and people say, oh, well, have an early night, have a nice lie-in. I think I'll still wake up and I'll be absolutely exhausted. But I think what I've learned since having my stoma bag is really giving myself like the me time. So I try to do something, at least one thing every day that is like something that's for me and that will help me relax, or just even if it's like me time, sometimes going for a walk, going to the gym, things like that, just giving myself that time to relax. And yeah, and I just think if for someone who does suffer with chronic fatigue, I would just give yourself the time that you need. There's no point powering through thinking, oh, this is my new normal now, because you shouldn't have to do that. If you do need a couple of days just to take a break and just catch up, reset, recharge, then I just think you need to take it and just think about yourself, because I mean, after everything we've gone through, we know life is way too short and anything can happen around the corner. So yeah, just give yourself the time you need.
The other question was
Yeah.
about flare-ups. And do you still have flare-ups? And when you get a flare-up, you have said before that you blame yourself. And I just kind of wanted to just kind of explore that a little bit more for somebody else who might be feeling the same.
So I think a major misconception with having a stoma, and I got this wrong at the beginning, was that my ulcerative colitis was gone. And it isn't, because I still have a short part of my rectum still left. There is active ulcerative colitis in that. So when I woke up from surgery, I kept saying like, I've kicked colitis in the arse or something. I was like high on morphine. And then I'm like looking back, I'm like, I had, but not all of it. But I think because the main part of my ulcerative colitis was gone, I wasn't given any medication, and that is just after years and years and years of being on such strong medication that impacted my life and like my quality of life so much. It was so refreshing to not be on anything. Recently, I had a flare up in my rectum, which it just completely took me by surprise. And I was really upset because it felt like I'd taken so many steps back. And when I spoke to my consultant, there isn't actually a lot that you can do for a flare up in a rectum. And we tried a few things, suppositories, enemas, and then they put me on a course of oral steroids, which I was absolutely gutted about, because I thought like my days of taking them were over. And there's so many side effects with them, and they're just really not a nice course to take, because they take like 8 weeks and you have to like reduce and reduce and reduce. But one thing that I did pick up on when I was going into hospital recently because of my flare up was that my consultant didn't seem alarmed at all, and he was very much like, you can live a normal life with a flare up in your rectum. And he was just very laid back. I was like quite shocked by it, because my initial thing was, oh my God, I've seen blood. This now means I'm going to have my rectum removed and have a Barbie butt, which then takes away the opportunity of ever having a reversal. Not that I don't know if I'd ever do that, but it took the option away from me, because again, like something out of my control. And he was so laid back, and he kind of mentioned surgery, but he was more like, if it's like affecting you that much, then you can have surgery. And he just gave me the steroids and he was like, look, let's see how these go. And I think with his relaxation, that gave me like, oh, the reassurance that, okay, stop panicking, that the first thing you think of is more surgery. And touch wood, I've taken the steroids, I've stopped them. The flare up seems to be quite controlled. But there is always that thought of it's your fault. And when, as soon as that blood came, I was like, was I overly stressed in work? What have I eaten? Like my food isn't even passing through my rectum anymore, and I'm blaming something I've eaten. I said, oh gosh, I went out for a bottle of wine with my friends on the weekend. Should I have had only one glass instead of two? And I just think there's that constant blame, because there is so many unanswered questions with it, and we don't know fully what causes Crohn's or colitis. And I think there's that, well, if no one can tell me what's happened, then it's obviously something I'm doing. And I would just say, it's not you. It's a horrible disease that we haven't quite yet understood. And we don't know what causes these flare-ups. I personally think that in my situations, a flare-up does happen if I am overly stressed. And I just think sometimes on the outside, I don't look stressed, but it must be internally my body is reacting to the stress. But that life comes with stress, and that no one could say, oh, well, do you know what, chill out, don't stress. That's just the most ridiculous thing to say, because life is stressful. And I just think that it's not anyone's fault for having a flare-up. So I just say, if I think everyone does feel like, gosh, it's my fault, I blame myself. And I just say, it isn't our fault. It's this horrible thing that happens. We're not sure 100% why it happens yet, but that is the way it goes.
Yeah, because I saw that and I read that and I thought that's a heavy burden for you to carry, to think that you're doing something when you're not. You're, like you said, life is stressful.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop, and that doesn't mean that it's your fault. So the advice you just said, like when you next feel that, like I really hope you remember this
Yeah.
conversation and you remind yourself, no, it's not your fault.
And when people say, oh, do some yoga. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I wish my flare-up would stop just because of yoga. Like I tried all those things. I've been on really strict diets. I've done everything. There's nothing that I haven't tried, because this disease is bloody awful. And I just think, like, people are trying to help. Oh, go on a walk, do some meditation. I'm thinking, oh, goodness, like there's nothing more I can do. Which I think those comments also make me feel, well, is it my fault then? Am I too overly stressed and I should be doing more yoga? But the reality is that we don't know why it happens. And I just think, don't ever blame yourself, because it isn't our fault.
I totally agree. But one thing I also just wanted to ask you about, because you've there's a lot of it, but you used to play hockey and netball and running. You like to go skiing. Were these all things that you thought that perhaps you wouldn't be able to do? And then, that whole conundrum of like your thoughts versus reality, and then actually, because do you still play hockey and netball? I know you've been skiing, but did you ever have a moment where you thought, I don't think I can do that anymore?
I generally woke up from that surgery and I thought my life was over. And like I couldn't even stand up without support. I couldn't walk without, they were giving me like a frame to walk around with. And I just thought, I'm never going to be able to live a life like walking down the street. I couldn't do. And I just thought, I'm going to have to change my life completely. All those things that I used to love doing. And it's so crazy, because before surgery, going to the gym, oh gosh, I've got to go to the gym. And like I was dreaming of going to the gym. I was dreaming to go to work. I want to do all those things that everyone thinks are like mundane things that we take for granted. And I generally thought I'd never be able to do them again. And then as I got stronger and I had a better outlook on life, and I wanted to get back to the strong, healthy person that I was before I had ulcerative colitis, that I did start going back to the things I love. And I haven't gone back to hockey, but I think that's something that I've moved on from that sport, so to say. But I joined a netball team. I've made all new friends through that. I've joined running clubs, I've joined new gyms. Me and a massive group of friends, we did the Tough Mudder. I mean, if you told me when I was lying in hospital bed that I was going to run something ridiculous like 15 kilometers and do 30 activities over like massive walls and things, I said, like, there's no way I could do it. And I look back now and I think, wow, I wish instead of giving me a magazine with an old person on who had a stoma bag, they could have given me a magazine with someone my age on it, or given me like a QR code that showed all these videos of young people doing Tough Mudders, doing runs, going skiing, doing all these things. And just, I mean, I wear a hernia belt because I just feel like that protects me, and that's what my surgeon and my stoma nurses have said. And I know so many people wear them as well. And I just think that there's nothing stopping us from putting it on and doing things that we used to love.
I love that. I totally agree. And before we finish, because this has been so interesting and insightful, one question that we always ask is, what would your advice be to somebody who is sort of facing stoma surgery and it's coming up? What would you say to them?
I would say you are not alone. It is such a lonely feeling going into the unknown. It's terrifying, and you think you'll never be able to live your life again how you used to live it. But first of all, you're not alone, and you will be able to do all the things, and if not more than you could. Remember those times where you used to be so unwell and so hopeless that you just you didn't know what was coming in the future. And now you've got this new thing. Yes, having a stoma bag is hard, and I won't sugarcoat it. And there are some days where I feel down, but there are more good days than bad days. And you've got this, and you're not alone. And if you ever need anyone to talk to, there is such an amazing community online.
Amazing. And I do hope that you will keep us posted as to like what you do in September, and we wish you all the best of luck. And as does Ronnie, I apologise for the barking, but thank you so much for joining us and telling us your story. It's so inspirational and motivating, and yeah, please do keep in touch.
No, I definitely will. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so lovely to, I don't know, share experiences. It feels like almost like a form of therapy for me, talking about things, and hopefully this helps so many more people.
I really hope so, but thank you so much, Poppy.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Have you seen the new Ostique skins yet? Ostique skins are revolutionary ostomy pouch covers that were created to make the wearer feel confident, sexy and powerful in all of life's moments. From moments of intimacy to lounging by the pool, conquering a workout or simply heading out to lunch, skins have you covered. Even better, they're compatible with all major colostomy and ileostomy bags. Ostique skins are available in a range of colours and skin tones, and they're made from a revolutionary material that's completely waterproof, high quality, soft and comfortable. Skins are easy to use, even with reduced dexterity, and they work with both closed and drainable bags. Plus, skins are also environmentally friendly and vegan. There are 4 bundles available to buy now, and you can also purchase individual skins. Head to ostique.co.uk to find out more.